Michael Vick, well, he unleashed some comments. He was talking about really answering the question, is he injury prone? And he had this to say. He says, I don't think I'm injury prone at all. I just had a couple of fluke injuries that happened, but it's not something I'm worried about. So that's Michael Vick. He's only played one 16-game season in his NFL career. Skip, what is your reaction to this?
Gentlemen, that statement is exactly why Michael Vick is injury prone. That's his pride talking, and pride goeth before the fall. Michael Vick has huge pride. I admire his pride. He has a huge heart. I admire his huge heart. But that's Michael Vick saying, hey, I can take a hit. Watch this. I'll take another one. I'll take another. I'll do anything on the football field to make a play for my team. And this is exactly what we keep talking about. This is a statement of what's wrong with the Philadelphia Eagles. Because, Stephen A., we've talked about this a dozen times already this year. They will go as far as he will take them. He is the X factor on this team. He must stay healthy. So I would like it better if he said, yes, I am a little fragile. I'm not going to do this anymore.
There is no football player
Come on.
alive.
Well, I'm just saying, this is what he should be thinking is, I am the hope diamond for this team. I have to protect myself at any cost. If there's a broken play, I can't expose my body by trying to make a 70-yard throw to Deshaun Jackson against the Patriots in a preseason game and take a shot in the ribs. I can't do it anymore. I've got to go down quicker. I've got to pick my spots. If I break the pocket, I've got to slide quicker. It's just this is just straight pride talk, and you know it and I know it. It's what's wrong with Michael Vick and what's right with him. But ultimately, it's going to be the undermining of this team.
Well, I agree with your statement when you say it's what's wrong with him and it's what's right with him. But I think that we need to be fair to him from the standpoint that he has to have that mentality. You don't achieve success on the NFL level if trepidation is worn all over your sleeve. You can't do that. You have to play to some degree fearlessly, with reckless abandon, with the understanding that you just got to go all out. You've got to go hard for as long as you can. That's number one. Number two, and more importantly, I think we have to recognize that if you're Michael Vick, the biggest impediment to Michael Vick's game, to me, is trying to be what everybody else thinks he should be, as opposed to being who he is and allowing. If I'm playing for Coach Mangini, I know that Coach Mangini knows, I know the man knows football. So here I am. I come to you. I'm not going to try to change and modify myself and the strengths that come along with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all of me. And then I'm going to use your expertise to say, okay, this is how we could best utilize it, as opposed to trying to modify myself to such a degree that some kind of metamorphosis kicks in and I'm totally, you can't even tell who I am anymore because I'm standing in the pocket 1 minute, I'm running the next. I don't know whether to run or when to pass or whatever. I'll use the basketball analogy when I brought up James Harden. James Harden for the Oklahoma City Thunder coach was the reigning sixth man of the year. He was just a sharpshooter. He was a big-time player, could get it done. All of a sudden, with the exception of the first half of Game 2 of the NBA Finals, we couldn't find this dude. A matter of fact, one point, he was wide open for a jumper right near the elbow of the base, of the foul line, and wouldn't even take the shot because he was hesitant. We didn't know this guy. We had never seen this guy before. That's what happens when people get into your head and convince you that you need to be something different than what you are. If you're Michael Vick and you played all of those years in Atlanta, the problem wasn't with your game. It was what you admitted after you got out of prison when you confessed to all of us that you used to take the playbook and throw it in the trunk, that you didn't study film, that you didn't read the playbook, that you didn't really dissect defenses and things of that nature. That was your problem. How you played on the field, per se, in terms of your athletic prowess and how you capitalized off of it was not the problem. That's what I think he needs to remember, Coach.
And I agree with points that both you made. I don't think that Michael Vick is inherently injury prone, but I think the way that he plays makes him more susceptible to injuries. Now, similar to Brett Favre and the conversation I had with him, he was going to throw interceptions. But when he threw interceptions, or in throwing interceptions, he also made tremendous plays down the field. So you didn't want to lose that big play potential, but you didn't want him to take chances that were unnecessary. And you have the conversation about not hitting on 16 in blackjack. And it's the same thing, not taking the hit in preseason, or you tell a kicker, never make a tackle in preseason if the play's broken. We can't afford to lose you. So it's not changing your game, but it's having the awareness of, is this worth what I'm going to have to potentially risk? And they can't lose him, and he can't lose himself in terms of the way that he plays, but there's got to be a middle ground because nobody can take those hits week in and week out and not be susceptible to injuries.
No, wait a second. So you say he's not injury prone. I have brought up this phrase on the show. I've said, I'm not sure that Michael has the durability gene, if you will, in that in my time around pro football, which is even longer than your time around pro football, there used to be a word that they used in the locker room of brittle. A guy's brittle. He gets hurt easily. Haven't you seen that occasionally? Remember, Michael Vick's not a huge human being. He's 5'11". He's really kind of slightly built. I know he's been hitting the weights hard, and I'm sure it'll serve him well this year. But again, can you be a little brittle, more brittle than the next guy?
Well, I think that even Superman, if he took some of those hits that moving quarterbacks take or guys that extend plays take, that they're going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. Look at Ben Roethlisberger. Would anybody say that Ben Roethlisberger is slightly built? But yet he gets injured because of the same thing. He extends plays, but that's also what makes him very good, so you wouldn't want to take that away either. But here's two guys with radically different builds that both get injured because of the amount of hits that they take because they extend plays.
To play through a lot of the hits, the knick-knack injuries,
yeah, but that doesn't mean he plays effectively. I mean, if Ben Roethlisberger doesn't get hurt near the end of the regular season last year, we may have seen him perform differently.
In the the game at Denver you're speaking of? Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
But what I'm saying is that there's a middle ground here, and finding that middle ground is really important because they need him to play all 16 games, but they also need him to play like Michael Vick for all 16 games, and that's the. I
believe the only modification, coach, that should be thrown in there, he needs to slide quicker and better, and he needs to run out of bounds. Outside of that, I think Michael Vick needs to be Michael Vick because that's when he strikes fear in defenders.